Many have talked about the 18-year minimum age requirement for tertiary admission, and they have talked intensively for the last few months. It's not the first time we're hearing about this, so we wonder, why so much excitement? Why is everyone talking about it? Perhaps because we have many young people who are leaving secondary school at 14, 15, 16, and many of their parents and guardians are wondering, what are we going to be doing with them for 2-3 years? They say the idle mind is where the devil can reside. We have this 6-3-3-4 system that's been in existence for many years. There are 6 years in primary school, 3 years in GSS, and 3 years in SSS. And they walk and march confidently into the tertiary institution. What we're asking ourselves now, is a 14 or 15-year-old ready for the toils of tertiary education? Well, Aristotle put it this way. He said, the root of education is bitter, but he also opines that the fruit is very, very sweet. So as we talk today, bringing you to the weekend table, we ask you to be honest, to be forthright, but also think about the credibility of our nation and what our future leaders can bring to the table. My name is Thelma Obazi. Of course, you've seen Princess Eloy Abba. Eloy,
yes,
wade in, please.
You're looking so beautiful. You know,
You
I like to
too.
sound like that.
You
look
too, my
so
darling.
pretty. Okay, so we all know that the federal government recently pegged the minimum age for entry into the university at 18 years. This decision, of course, sparked a lot of reaction. Why some are applauding it, others are not so happy, and others say that for this kind of decision or law to take effect, time should be given to parents and guardians to adjust and make amendments. Now, whatever your decision or wherever you lean on as far as your reaction to this law is concerned, one question is critical. What is the correlation between age and education? What has maturity got to do with learning? You know how our certificates from the higher institution would say, found worthy in learning and in character. Well, has age anything to do with it? Today we'll find out as we dig, unravel, and bring solutions to the fore. My name is Patience Eloyaba, and it is your favorite show, We Can Deal.
Okay, it's time for a backgrounder,
Yeah?
isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, we set the tone for the conversation right now. Let's talk about that minimum age requirement for tertiary institutions. When, how, why? It's time to see our background feature. Let's take it.
Historically, the Nigerian educational system has been guided by the British model, which emphasizes progression through a structured path from primary school to university. However, unlike the British system that mandates age restrictions for different educational stages, Nigeria has not consistently enforced strict age requirements. As a result, many Nigerian students gained university admission at ages younger than 18, with some as young as 14 or 15 years old.
I think it's a policy that has been there, and it's a very good one, well thought out, and it's just that maybe the present administration wants to resuscitate it. But one thing is, the timing is very, very wrong, because you can't change the rule of a game at the middle of the game. 18 years before you get admission into university, by that time, this student must have developed cognitive-wise, physical-wise, emotional-wise, social-wise, and be able, to take care of himself when he gets into the university. So now that we want to correct it, we must put in place a measure that will look at those who are already in the system. For instance, somebody is already in JSS1, and then maybe he is 12 years or 11 years. By the time he gets to SS3, maybe 17 or 16. I'm just giving an illustration. And at that time, you say this child should stay 2 years at home, doing what? We will have more problems in our hands.
The timing of this policy may also reflect Nigeria's broader efforts to reform its education system in response to global best practices and its desire to produce graduates who are competitive on an international scale.
Other civilized countries, like even the US, the UK, I was in China. They have 18 years, 19, and 17 in China. So you don't go to the schools or universities and see just small children, who cannot manage themselves there. Yeah, there are exceptional cases where you have gifted children. What we should have done is to build maybe a special university for gifted children, you understand, who are on the fast lane, so that we don't use this policy to take them back.
With the 18-year minimum age requirement, what are the implications for Nigerian educational institutions?
The likely implication is that we continue to have the problem we are having in the university. The influences that will be playing on these children that are not mentally developed. You see, developmental psychology in education demands that growth and development of the child cognitively, emotionally, socially, and otherwise are taken into cognizance in designing their curriculum. Has any school been penalized for allowing children to graduate from primary to secondary, from primary 5? So parents, they got used to it, and they want it easy way too. After primary 5, you go to primary 6. Make it compulsory that every school must have primary 6. If you don't show your primary 6 certificate, you will not be admitted into secondary school. Everybody in primary 1 must have reached 6 years. Then from there, you start counting those primary 1 now that are primary 6. That is where this program will start, and it will be okay.
Ultimately, the success of this policy will depend on its implementation and the support structures available to students during the waiting period. Our focus on Weekend Deal today will be on the 18-year minimum age requirement for university admission.
Thank you so much, Francis. I'm actually interested in knowing the support structures that will be on ground for our students as they wait to gain entry into the university. And now there's a policy that unveiled all this. What policy exactly? NTA Adokiti will tell us more. NTA Adokiti, take it away.
Do solemnly and publicly pledge.
Policies on education are designed to serve the needs of the citizens and the corporate objectives of the nation. These policies on education are formulated to produce well-equipped, patriotic, and self-reliant citizens that will in turn develop the country. However, one of the policies on education, the 18-year minimum age requirement for university admission, has come under serious scrutiny in recent times, with some seeing it as the right step for the Nigerian university system, while others believe it to be moribund and calling for urgent review.
But by the policy of education, it naturally ends at 18 years of age. And when you look at the spirit behind this policy, it is a welcome development. So I support the federal government in making sure that this kind of policy is really reactivated, and is put into practice. The problem is that these policies are not being followed. That is why you find a child of 14 in the university. I mean, it is not normal.
It's not age that is our problem. Because we have some exceptional students that, in fact, they can, during our own period, we have some students that spend maybe 3 years for primary school. But where do we want to have those people now? We still have some students that are very brilliant. So if you are now pegging the age, it will cause them, it will demoralize them.
I think it will affect the number of students that will be roaming about, because imagine a student who left secondary school at the age of 15 and then now they have to wait for 3 more years before getting admission.
Going by the policy, a child is expected to be 6 years old while registering for primary school, making a total of 18 years before seeking admission to the university.
Well, I am really supporting the federal government that let us go back to the basics. Let us go back to the drawing board. Let us follow the policy. Age 6, primary school, 6 years in primary school, 3 years in junior secondary school, 3 years in senior secondary school. By the time you calculate that age, a child must have reached 18. Let me appeal to parents. 18 is good.
It is the duty of the university to decide, to exercise their discretion at all times. You can't take that discretion from them. To me, the issue of age is a matter of discretion for the university. And we have been doing it here. We have students who came here at 15 and finished with first class at the age of 19.
Over the years, the policy has been left unenforced and candidates of different ages have been seeking admission into the university. Recently, the Minister for Education, Maman Tahir, made a pronouncement with a view to revisiting and enforcing the policy of 18-year minimum age requirement. This was met with criticisms at a town hall meeting organized by JAMB for stakeholders in the education sector. It is opined that to enforce such policy, which has been compromised over a long period of time, there is need for adequate planning and structure.
If there is anything to do is to revisit the policy and see for how we are going to review holistically. And in reviewing, all stakeholders must be brought in: NUC, NUT, PTA, and the government circle, and even the House of Assembly, to look at the policy holistically. Because now enforcing it now is e-time. Why? Most of the pupils in SS2, if you check their age, mostly are 14 years, mostly 15 years. Rarely will you find any one of them that is in 16 or 17 years.
On a critical look, people emphasize the imperative of going to the drawing board and allow for sufficient time to mop up current students who are much more younger than the expected age. This has to be done right from the primary school through the secondary school and onto the university.
That all parties must come together to take a look at the policy holistically. Everyone must be able to contribute and they must be heard, and then we can reason together, because it's all about our children who are the future leaders of tomorrow. You know, 15 years ago, youths were different. Today, they are different from those who were there before them, and they are different from those who are coming after them. But let's spend some time now in Mina. We invite them to wade into this conversation as we take a look at the socio-economic and cultural implications of the policy, talking about the 18-year minimum age requirement for young people to enter tertiary institutions. NTA Mina, please come right in.
In Niger State, as in many parts of Nigeria, education is viewed as a valuable path to a brighter future. However, for students from low-income families or rural areas, the journey to higher education is often filled with challenges.
I see the rural dwellers being placed at high disadvantage, because by the time they finish their school, at the age of 16, and they have to wait for another additional 2 years. Economically, it has implication because they have to work for 2 years to cultivate and sell their produce. But you might have added 2 years to them, that is 18. And there's no guarantee that at that 18, they will pass their JAMB.
I have a child who just finished secondary school at the age of 16 years. And the new policy now says the child has to wait until 18 years before proceeding to a university policy. That policy, as a parent, some of us who are a low class, we have finished every arrangement for the child to go and start furthering the education. Now, if he is to wait for another 2 years, that arrangement has been set back.
For wealthier families, this 18-year age requirement may not pose the same challenges. Access to private schools and international education pathways allows their children to continue learning even if they finish secondary school early. This creates a significant divide between students from different socio-economic backgrounds, further widening the gap in educational opportunities.
There are countries that don't have this age limit. So since this age limit is not placed in some countries, they can shop for their children's education there.
Cultural factors also play a significant role in shaping educational aspirations. In rural communities and in many parts of the world, there is immense pressure for students to complete their education quickly and contribute to their family's income. For some, education is seen as a pathway to financial stability. However, the 18-year minimum age requirement often clashes with these cultural expectations.
In Nigeria, we are from different socio-economic and cultural backgrounds. Certainly, this policy may not favor some cultural backgrounds. But in the rural areas, where the downtrodden, the poverty level of our people is so high that they are dependent on their children to support them economically. So by the time you delay the entry into university, certainly it will affect some generations.
When considering the implications of this age requirement for university admission, it becomes clear that while the policy may aim to foster a more mature university student body, it can unintentionally hinder the aspirations of students from less privileged backgrounds. Socio-economic and cultural factors must be considered to ensure equitable access to education for all.
This policy is not going to hinder aspirations of children from this less privileged background, but rather children that are from the homes of the elites. Because if you look at children that are graduating from the university or going into the university at age 14, 15, and 16, a majority of them do not come from the less privileged. We are completely different. We have people that are exceptional. Exceptional children are supposed to allow to develop that exceptionality in them. So you realize that if you put these things side by side, sometimes you tend to think that the disadvantages may, in the long run, outweigh the advantages.
As we reflect on the future of education policy, it is crucial to ensure that no student is left behind due to their age, economic standing, or cultural background. Addressing these challenges will help build a more inclusive and equitable education system.
I mean, I can't even wait for this conversation to unravel. You know how I told you at the beginning that we'll be digging, uncovering, and then bringing solutions to the fore. The people helping us to do that are the experts, our guests, and one of them is here. She is Reverend Dr. Mrs. Ijoma Emeribe. She's president and founder of Women Africa International. Let's see her profile. you're
welcome you to Weekend Deal.
Thank you.
Wow. You just told us about your book signing in Florida. How did it go?
It went well. Well, it's just the story of my life, particularly. It's on Amazon. So if you just go there and you see The Long Journey Home by Ijome Meribe, I think that's the book. Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations on putting that together. Yes. Now we are in our own home. And this is your family sofa, you know now.
Yes.
You are a family member. So let's bring it home to our children, to Nigeria here. You know, this policy is not new, but perhaps it's been revamped or rejigged or retweaked. And Nigeria, as you know, there was a general uproar. They're like, 18? When our kids are finishing school at 15, at 16, at 17. So what do we do with our children before then? But tell us, when we say the 18-year minimum age requirement for entrance into tertiary institutions, what is your overall view? What's your perception?
Okay, thank you so much. First and foremost, I'd like to look at the reason for going to school, which is to acquire knowledge. You understand? And I've always said that you acquire knowledge and also add to knowledge. If you acquire knowledge and you're not able to add to knowledge, then you didn't even go to school. And then coming to the fact of 18 years, I'm just like thinking, what's the reason behind it? Because before you come up with any policy, you must have sat down and thought about it and say, okay, if I do it, if I bring this policy, you know, it's going to favor the people. Now, have you ever thought of why people want their children to go to school and come out early? Do you know that there are some families that, you know, because of financial issues, they try to say, okay, when my child is in maybe SS1, I want that child to stay at home and take WAEC, so that at least I will be free. I will know that, okay, one aspect of his life, the second aspect of his life is over. You understand? Because putting up and coming up with a policy of 18 years, that is not the best for us at this time.
Okay, why do you say so?
I'm saying so because what we ought to do presently is to know the situation of the young people and what they are doing at this time, and their educational issues, finances, and so on, and how are the families doing. Most families, the children don't go to school because of the high cost of education. And we look at the private sector, we look at also the government aspect of it. We just need the government to come up with something that will favor everyone. One is putting the right policy in place. The right policy means revamping the government school to meet up with the private sector. Because I actually like the private school and the government school. Yes, because in the government school you are sure to have everything in place. You understand? While in some of the private schools, you just have big stuff, things are not complete, and you don't have too many experts in those places. So if the government comes up to say, okay, you know what, this is what is going to happen in the this sector. We are going to make sure the government school is standard, whereby even very wealthy parents will want to take their children to those schools.
Well, again, some arguments. Well, what you said is actually contestable. Some people say they would rather private schools for the facilities, but that is conversation for another day. No, that's conversation for another day.
Okay,
I was going to say the place of maturity in learning.
Yeah.
Don't you think that, do you think maturity has anything to do with learning? That when a child is more matured, he's able to grasp more, take the vigor and the rigor of schooling and all. Do you think so? Or
No. I think that when children pick everything they hear, they get, at that early stage, they are able to really, you know, grapple with a lot of things. For instance, now, things I was taught in the primary school when I was still growing up, I don't forget them. But as an adult, there are things you tell me, you teach me, I just forget them. You understand? So it sticks to the mind. So a child that is comes up like a plain slate. So everything that is going in there sticks. So it's not about maturity. It's not about maturity. It's about the willingness or the willingness, in fact, to study. So 18 years, 16 years does not come in right now. What matters now is, okay, what are the things you're setting in place if you want the children to get to university at 18 years, okay, is there anything they will be doing if a child finishes a secondary school at 16, 15, and the child have to wait and be eating my food? You understand? The child have to wait for me to be with the child because he's still young and need to always be around, or I get somebody to stay with that child, and then all those things. What will you... In other countries of the world, what happens is that immediately you finish your secondary school, they get you a job. You get a job.
Some even start working while they're in high school.
That is what I'm saying. So you're making money. And then at least the parents are being relieved of, you know,
burden of having to cater.
I mean it. You understand? So for
even parents who are not struggling, people who are financially strong, it's to let their children do that.
Because by doing that, by doing that, it helps them to be focused. You understand? It helps them to, no matter how much you have, there's no parent that will want the child to be useless. Because you have to, that period that they are going to stay and wait to enter school at 18, what would they be doing?
But can I ask you, you are a parent, like many of us are. Ought it to be the government's responsibility to keep our children busy? Because what then are we doing as parents?
Okay.
And you said maturity doesn't count.
For instance,
before you jump in there, when you say maturity doesn't count, what exactly do you mean?
When I say maturity does not count, is because, like I said, education is acquiring knowledge. You understand? So when you have, the more knowledge you have about something, the more mature you become. That is what it is. So you don't say because you're 20. So what you're learning, what somebody that have acquired when the person is 16 years does not matter.
No, it matters, but what they are saying is that a child of 15, 16, 17 has not acquired enough world wisdom to survive in a tertiary space.
Okay, it's just like telling me that a man that is 20 years and a man that is 60 years, who is best in marriage? Is that what you're saying? 25 years old man or woman can stay perfectly in a home better than a man of 60 years.
Okay, but you know what, Reverend?
What are you talking about?
We haven't married them off yet.
Okay. No. But I'm still I'm using that as an example.
So the lighter note. I know.
So you can imagine, whether you're 16 years old, you have 16-year-old young person can even be more mature, you understand, than 25 years. And then let me also tell you something that we need to also put into consideration. The 16 years old before, the way they behave before, you understand, there's kind of maturity, or when you come to 8, let me even use 18, that's at the age of becoming an adult. If you're an adult at 18 years before, you can really see that you're mature. But let me tell you now, 18 years is like 16 years of before.
It's obvious that many Nigerians don't buy into that 18-year minimum age requirement. They are like, my child is ready, let them go. Were we to want to have such a conversation, how do you think government can put it together? Will it be at state level, local government, community, federal? How will they pick those who will come to the table and discuss for the parents and guardians?
Okay, we should also be talking about children that are not going to school. There are many of them that are not going to school. Why are they not in school? There's no money to pay the school fees. So if the government must detect for them, they should give them free education. You understand? Give them free education. If you are training me and I'm dependent on you, whatever you tell me to do is what I will do. So even if they sit on a round table and discuss, they say it in the local or state or international level, it doesn't matter. You understand? What is important is that, are they happy doing what you want them to do? If I am not happy with the government of the day, I'm not being treated the way I should be treated. If I'm struggling to pay my school fees, I'm struggling to pay my children's school fees with the minimum wage of 70 or 30-something thousand, and I have 4 or 5 children and they need to go to school, and I'm saying that, okay, the first one should go to to university at 16 so that he will come up and take care of me, and you're saying no.
Okay, but another side to all this,
like this.
Yes,
you are saying that really, you know, this law is not new.
It's not new, but again, I was going to say something. Again, the rate of moral decadence, you understand, where children who are 16, I'm not speaking for the government, but I'm just imagining that where children who are young, who get this freedom of university, all of a sudden this freedom is thrust at them, and they decide to have their heads in the cloud. Maybe for the first 2 years, they don't even know why they're in the university. They're just carrying over everything and just enjoying this freedom when nobody tells you when to go to bed, what to eat. Maybe that's where the government is coming from, where they think that children should be more matured so they can take responsibility. Don't you think that might be why it's also important that children are matured before they go into this freedom?
Well, no matter how the government looks at it, first things first. And that's first things first I'm talking about is giving them what will keep them going.
Okay.
Give them. Tell me that there is job for everyone that comes out of secondary school to go and do IT and is being paid.
Yeah, true.
It's
Or
okay.
to learn a skill.
Learn something. And even when you're learning the skill, don't let me pay for the skill.
Yes.
Give them something.
Give them something.
So they will save up to the university.
And that's even a life skill.
Okay, in other countries of the world, some other countries of the world, like I said before, you must come out from secondary school and work.
Yeah.
That is a form of helping you to grow into maturity.
Yes.
It helps you to get focused. As you're working, you're focused. You go to work, you know that you have to earn money, you know how to spend your money, you know that if you spend anyhow, it's finished, and then tomorrow you're looking for transport to go to work. You tame yourself. You know what you're doing. So you don't just come and just say, oh, it must be like this. Before you do that, certain things must have to
put in place. Okay.
I'm also understanding that when children go to school at that young age and nobody is telling them, oh, stop there, especially when they come out of the secondary school and from boarding to boarding.
Yes.
From boarding to
In
boarding.
fact, from boarding to freedom.
To freedom.
There's no gates.
No gates. Nothing.
That is the thing now.
It's scary, actually.
Yes, from
it's
boarding
scary.
to so then, in fact, you as a parent, you're going to suffer.
Yes.
You know why you suffer? You're going to miss them, and you have given them so much freedom to the extent that they don't even need you anymore. Wow. Oh yes, they don't need you anymore. They want to be on their own. So if you try to tell them what not to do, they say, like, but I've been on my own.
So many years.
So why are you coming to tell me?
Okay, let's urge you to hold your thoughts there. Wow. Reverend Dr. Mrs. Ijoma Emeribe. A second break beckons on Weekend Deal. We ask you, Nigeria, don't go anywhere. Now, there are many factors that contribute to presenting our young ones into tertiary education. Now, government is saying the age is the most critical. And our guest here is taking us in other dimensions that will contribute to what the eventual decision should be nationwide. But first, our break. We'll be back. Don't go anywhere. So we're back to the studio. Messages are coming in, Dr. Mrs. IJ. Someone says here, they said, thank you for the conversation, Weekend Deal. What a way to wake up this morning. Well, my question is this. What happens if the child at 16 has passed WAEC and written JAM and passed as well, but has to wait till 18? What happens? Why did they not tell us that the children should not write WAEC and UTME earlier? So they write and wait and hold on to the results, or they write and wait and lose the results. And even then, who tells them now that a child who has not gone to school for 2 years will still have the same excitement when they are finally entering tertiary institution? Let me take 3 more before we now address them. Okay. Permit me to do this quickly. What I ought to have done earlier to put us on. Okay, the 18-year limit. The 18-year limit should be done away with. Let's concentrate on our children's performance. Nigeria, don't take us back. But tell us who you are. Morning, everyone. I totally disagree with the first speaker. What she said about making a child write WAEC at SS1 due to poverty is not good. Maturity is paramount to education system. Those below 18 years after secondary school can be engaged in computer training, extra lessons, and some skill acquisitions from Hamayo. He didn't get what you said in context, but you will explain again. But let me take one more. There are many coming in. Good morning, Weekend Deal. The 18-year requirement is a very welcome development. It has been existing, but many have derailed it's now time to resuscitate it. But it must begin from the primary school, where the rules should be enforced not to allow very young children enter secondary school. That way, the control can start from there. By the time they are 11 or 12 before entering primary school, there'll be no need to have this argument or this talk about whether they should be 18 years before they enter the university. Dr. Mrs. IJ, let's hear from you.
Okay, yes, when I talked about SS1, I was talking about the financial implications. Some parents tell their children after SS1 to wait and take WAEC because they don't have the money to fund them to SS3. It happens. People stay at home and register for WAEC. It all boils down to money.
But they are saying, what they are asking, is it a tenable reason?
No, it's not as if it's good, you understand? But I'm telling you that parents do that because
and they have a right to do so,
option. Right? Yes, because you are not paying them anything. You are not giving them anything. They are not financially okay to wait for their children to get to 18 years before they can get to. Even some of them may not even get to the university after all. And then when we talk, I don't know, the second person that was talking about 18, you know, when a child is 18, you understand? Basically, that child is saying, okay, in the next 2 years, maybe when I'm 20, I should finish university and enter into the labor market. And I'm now saying that the only thing that the government should do to tell everyone to keep this policy, maintain this policy, and work on it to become a reality is give them free education.
Thank you so much. You've learned from your wealth of knowledge. You've been sincere, you've been passionate, and it came out real. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Mrs. Ijoma, for coming to enrich our discourse, okay? Yes. At the end of the day, what Nigerians are saying, let us come together and reason well in everyone's best interest. Okay, it's time to head up to Enugu. Enugu, we know you've been working hard, and you want to contribute. You've been saying, we are ready, we are ready. Enugu, come on in now. What is your research going to thrust up about this minimum age requirement for tertiary institutions? Please share.
School certificate exams and the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board exams are milestones in the academic record of every Nigerian, as both exams are considered transition period from secondary to tertiary institutions. However, with the 18 years benchmark policy announced by the Minister of Education, Tahir Mamun brings another hurdle that students have to surpass for entrance into the university.
The advantage that they are looking at, I'm not against that. When we were growing, we used to use movements like this to enter into school. That was the measure. The government should make it a 12-year program so that those who are beginning to bear children now, those who are entering into the baby-making industry, those who are beginning to enter into family, should know that if you have a child, the child should be up to 6 before the child goes into primary school.
I can understand why the government implemented that policy on the 18 years, because in the university, you are more, they believe that from 18 you are more matured, or you are emotionally matured and physically matured to take on the affairs of what is happening in university. Because in the university, it's not like the secondary school where your teachers tend to put an eye on you. At 16, you are still a child, I would say. At 16, you are still a child. That is why it is legally accepted by the government that at 18 years, you are mature to know the difference between right and wrong and what you need to achieve in life.
If age is just a number, as it is said, why then the uproar on the age restrictions proposed by the federal government of Nigeria?
The problem with Nigerian education is not about age limit. The minimum age for entry into Nigerian universities and the tertiary institutions, that amounts to leaving the substance to chase shadow. I implore the Minister of Education to chase substance and leave off shadow. Shadow is totally unnecessary. Age limit is shadow, it's not the substance.
Should it be only on education? We have not even gotten to the age of maturity stamped in this country. We have not get to the age of marriage, one giving a girl child in hand in marriage. So for me, why should they stick on the education per se? It's not good to our children. Because outside the country, you can see most of their children, 14, 16 years, getting masters. One is about ability.
Kaima Chijoke and Delina Onyeduchukwu are both waiting to gain admission into the university. And for these teenagers, the policy is simply a clip on their wings of success.
I am 16 years of age and I know how well I wrote the JAM. I know how well I did in that examination, and I would have felt horrible if that policy was implemented this year, because I feel like it has taken away my right to furthering my education. Because now, if I have to wait 2 more years before I take the next JAM, what am I, somebody that's meant to be in school learning, supposed to do for 2 years? It's just going to be 2 years of inactivity, doing nothing for 2 years, no progress for 2 years, nothing to do for 2 years. That would make no sense, and it would be so unreasonable that after all the hard work I put in, I was not given admission to something I'm supposed to have been given.
The JAM 18-year-old policy doesn't really sit well with me, because there are some 15, 16 or even younger ones that are just as capable or even more capable than the 18-year-olds. Because if you really check it, the government should not put a barrier or a blockage on those 15 or 16-year-olds, because they can do as well or even better than their senior ones that are in the same class with them.
Right around the world, there are people that are very exceptional. They are called special children, exceptional children. Don't reduce people's intellectual ability. These things are given by God. A lot are also developed innate in human beings. It will be wrong for us to now bring a policy that will make it impossible for people to progress, or progress at the time at which they are supposed to progress.
Thelma, our guest is here. Let us meet our guest here.
Honorable Minister for State Education, Honorable Tanko Yusuf Sununu. We get to see his profile first, and we get into the meaty matter in just a moment. Nigerians, stay with us.
Honorable Sir, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, welcome, sir. So, sir, as you know, let's just go straight to it. It's about the new decision by the federal government to say that you have to be 18 years to go into the university. And the question a lot of Nigerians are asking, that the educational sector is known to be bedeviled with a lot of challenges. Of all the challenges, why should attention now be paid to the age students are going to school?
Well, I thank you very much for having me, but I think there are a lot of corrections from your question or perceptions of Nigerians. Okay. One, the policy is not a new policy.
It's not new, true.
Two, and it's not only the age that we are dealing with.
Okay.
Virtually, in fact, in the last 1 year, there is no up to 48 hours that all the stations in Nigeria, none speaks about education. So education has been a front burner, and it's understandable because it's the bedrock of development. Whatever we're going to do, we must get it at this. And probably the only thing that one will say, which is very complementary, it also have role in education is security.
Okay.
Once you are secured, next thing is to get you educated, and then to get food on the table. The education will get you food on the table. So education is virtually the bedrock, and no country can be rated above the level of its education. All those that have developed, they have gone far with education, and that's why people are this. Well, if you look at it, I said it's not a new, because we have a national policy of education. 6334 system is a policy that has been there on ground. It has not been abrogated. We also have the national policy of education. Even the latest version that we have, that the 2030, it doesn't say that is not a distinct. You see, the issue is, it says that education is divided into pre-primary, primary, junior secondary school. When you add it, you have a basic component. The three form the basic component of education. And then you have the secondary level of education, and then you have the tertiary level of education. Well, in most countries, that is what we call early childhood care and development education, which here in Nigeria, the practice is very limited, mostly to private schools. But as now, it's also the area we are paying much attention, and we have gone far to develop curriculum, and we have started locally training those who are expert, at least at national certificate level of that level of education, because it requires a lot of maturity, because it's the tender age. And it's a period of transition where you try to introduce child to school and then gradually removing him away from the home. So it has to be man in a special way.
Be handled well.
Yes, so, and that's this thing. And it is expected. You go into also pre-primary, the nursery school, which will be there for at least 3 years, 3 to 4 years. And then by 6, you enroll in your primary school. And when you enroll at 6, you spend 6 years in primary school. That's 12. And then you go for your basic age, the basic part of the basic component, the junior secondary school for another 3 years. That's making it 15. And then you are expected at 18 to graduate and then
university.
Go to your this.
Okay, but like what
you see, let us this is standard. People keep to see. It's not new.
It's not new.
It's not new even in Nigeria. People know. Parents knew that once you get, once you are, even they have to go outside and get admission. I'm coming. Let me make this point.
Okay, fine.
Before the age of 18, if you are even outside, if you are to get admission before the age of 18, that child is attached to his guardian. He's responsible. Even his roles will be posted to you. At the time he clock 18, everything is cut off. It's an added on his own.
But let's not go outside.
I'm coming.
Let's stay inside.
We're making some this in clarification. How did the matter arose? Over the years, we realize that there are abuses of this policy.
Okay.
We have evidence that at the age of 10, at the age of 11, children were admitted mostly in some private universities to study in the university.
Yes. School?
Yes. 11 years, 10 years.
Where?
Here in Nigeria. We have the evidence.
11 years?
Yes. We have the evidence.
University?
If you want, I will chat it to you privately. But we have that evidence. And those institutions, they know. And we are working to sanction them.
They admitted physical human beings of 11 years?
Yes.
Again, not to cut all.
You understand? And what is this?
That is rare.
That's one. That
is rare.
They are rare. Yes, that's the one this thing.
Okay.
The issue also, they also have parental pressure.
Okay.
That leads to a lot of skipping.
On the children?
On the children, yes. On the school even. They will say at 5 level, primary 5, I want my distance right primary school living certificate. At 5, at 4 or 5, I want him to write SSC, INECO and private and this. You understand?
But were the parents falsifying the eventual results? Were these children able to pass the examination?
They were able to pass the examination.
So they're
but
able
you
to
see,
pass.
the component of education is not only your knowledge, cognitive, reasoning, critical thinking, and others. Your ability to make right and to separate right from wrong decisions. At the age of 12, 13, 14, you can easily be lured into another group that you, in the end, won't be finding regretting it.
But our discussion, is it evidence-based?
I'm coming.
This layer, is it evidence-based?
Let's understand. You have to understand the argument. So when this issue arose, we raised it when we are having stakeholders and developing guidelines for the 2024-2025 admission into our tertiary, into our universities. And at that opening ceremony, Minister made that statement, trying to revive what is in our national policy on education. At that level, even all the stakeholders, everybody said, okay, no, this has not been this. You cannot change the game at the middle of the, you cannot push the goalposts at the middle of the game. People have already applied. So I said, okay, that is also a good decision. So let's suspend that. And let's go by 16 for this year's admission. And then while we are also doing that, we are going to continue with ongoing discussion Listen to the views of Nigerians.
Good one.
And once we listen to the views of Nigerians, we are having National Council of Education here in Abuja in October. We also subjected to another analysis and discussion. And then we are also at the House of Representatives is always very proactive. So
they must wade in.
I was a product of that center, but I agree that we are very, very, House of Representatives is very, very
buoyant and vibrant.
Proactive, and yes, and vibrant, yes. I think you are giving me more qualifying words.
That's why we are happy to have you now.
We are also there. We have even at the highest level, the majority leader, who was also a professor in education, who also headed the basic education committee in the Night Assembly when I was there. We had a lot of members there. And
a robust discussion.
And then we agreed that, let's consider it as now as a work in progress.
Good one.
So that we now present it, whatever their decision they will give us, we now have, as we are listening to general public. You must know that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, one thing you cannot deny him is that he listens. Let's also agree with us. Law, the basis of law, it's not minority, it's majority.
Good one.
If you are going to make a law, you cannot use 10 people in a country to judge over 200 million.
Of course.
So we are now looking at the majority.
That's why all our features have ended with bring stakeholders
to the table,
who have this children. Even we want to hear from the youths. If you give them a small space to speak, and their opinions should be heard and respected.
Nigeria as a nation has the best policies. Our problem usually is implementation.
Enforcement.
And now here we are. This thing has been lying fallow somewhere, because if you look at the 633 whatever system, if you follow it, if you follow it, you should end up at 18, right? But we don't. And so people are saying that time should be given. Do you understand? With all this is going, time should be given, so parents and guardians should be.
But that's what he has said. There's time.
Time should be
given. It's a work in progress.
Yes, that's what you said.
It's a work in progress. But let me ask you one of the questions that our guests.
If we want to, probably would now say, we make a policy. Let's start correcting it at entry level.
Yes, thank you.
Once we start at that, and this is why I said
what our viewers said. Good one.
Once we start at entry level, then we should be able to distribute. But you see, we should not continue to say that we will not respect our laws.
No, we will.
Let me cite an example. When I was chairman, House Committee on Healthcare Services. There was a prohibition at by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria, which was violated by Ahmed Bello University area. And Ahmed Bello Nursing Council withdrew the accreditation. And I was called to listen. When I listened, I said, look, it has to do with a foreigner. I said, this law must be respected.
I like that.
You cannot go to another country and play the role with the law the way you like. So, Vice Chancellor, today implement that law. I assure you, in the next 1 minute, your accreditation will be restored.
I like that.
And Vice Chancellor did that immediately. And then the following day, he did that 3 a.m. He implemented when he called me at 3 a.m. And he called me and said, your Vice Chancellor, your accreditation is restored. And I called the Registrar of Nursing Council of Nigeria. And I told him this, and I forwarded the corrections that they have did. And then we came in the morning to this. And I said, the provost, everybody was there. I said, look, the problem was solved. The Vice Chancellor has complied with the
and the accreditation was restored immediately.
And this is, Provost, this is your letter of restoration of your accreditation. So this is it. And this government is one of the mantra, one of the 8-point agenda of Mr. President is respect for the rule of law.
Good one.
So you see, but the only thing, if you are going to correct, you also have to take people's opinion.
You have
and
said
do
it
in such a way that
the
what do you call it, the bruises that will be suffered will be limited.
Will be less.
The guest before you here said, if we need to implement that, eventually it's going to be implemented, and it's going to be a strict rule. You have to be 18, and whether we like it or not, some students will still be out of school before time. And she said, if you're going to do that, that we should see more free education, at least at some levels. Government should provide free education at some level. It will help parents, take the burden of some parents.
And she talked about sponsoring the children even while they're out of school
to learn a skill or another.
That the government
why they are waiting
or pay
because
them.
The place of maturity in learning, we cannot take it away. Whether we like it, it's the truth. Like you said, some children going to university and they lose it. So what is the plan to help these children while they are waiting to
and
go?
their parents do?
Or are there any plans in that regard?
Well, let me tell you what we are doing as of today now is taking the holistic approach to right the wrong of the past. We have mentioned the issue of age, and we're also looking at the also policy on education itself. If you look at it, even at the level of our award of degrees, is awarded based on character and learning. Which is also a negation of what national policy of education emphasizes. National policy on education emphasizes that you have to be, have a character to be able to assist your country, relate well with the public, relate well with even your neighboring countries, know how to help yourself and this thing. That's this. It also give you the, to get the knowledge so that you can also expand your critical thinking and everything will be able to digest. And the higher you go at level of education, it's giving you more exposure. You are also able to have some numeracy and literacy learning that you should be able to, and then have some critical thinking. And also be able to learn language of the immediate environment. And that's even the mother tongue. And that's why to foster learning at that level, they say you should be taught in the mother's tongue or
Honorable Minister, before we wrap up our conversation, someone is asking now that, just like our guest asked earlier, while our children stay at home, they would like government to give them something substantial. That in countries abroad, they pay children. Is it going to ever happen in Nigeria, like social welfare schemes, when the children stay at home?
It's something that will be considered, but what we are most important while at home or while at school is to see how we can develop skills, which is more important. Teach him to know how to catch fish rather than giving fish. So give them skills rather than giving them money. So what we are, and that's why I was saying that as of today now, we have come up with a lot of line-up programs. There is Hope Education, Hope Health. Hope Education is going to pay more attention to skill development. And even before we came, there was this idea project, which they are all funded at this thing. Each one is a multi-million-dollar project, which are also going to work, and emphasis is being paid by skill. We must get our people, children to have skills. Look at just what happened in the last national strike. It goes to show that we have to wake up, we have to do much, and we have to ensure that we are protecting our children. An idle mind is a double workshop. Giving them money doesn't. But train them to be engaged. So that always, when they wake up, they know where to go, what to do, and what to get something.
And they are stronger leaders of this country. We need to wrap it there.
Don't go away. It's still the same.
God bless Edo State.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.